Hey, how you doing? I'm DJ Slam, and I'd like to welcome you to my show. But first, I want to give you some background. My aunt was actor, famous cowboy John Wayne's housekeeper. From time to time, my incredible father and my wonderful aunts would take me to his home. I was even on his boat. I couldn't have been any more than 5, maybe 6 when that happened. Um, my father told me that it was just between us. Don't tell anybody that where you work. But I didn't even know what a movie star was. At that time, I could remember thinking that people were little and in the box TV, and the TV that we had was that huge hi-fi, where one side was a stereo and the other side was the radio with the big knobs. But if my father told me something, I stuck to it. Rarely did I not take my father's advice, and each time I didn't take my father's advice, I suffered the consequences. So anyway, I'm gonna skip ahead to when, let's say, the real deal stuff went down. And I can't speak for anybody else in LA, but we were proud of LA. Uh, I was raised off Compton Avenue, 56th Street, raised a whole lot by my great grandmother on 110th off Compton, and she achieved a business license. She ran a local jug joint, but it was no ordinary jug joint. From time to time, there were some wonderful, iconic, famous people like B.B. King, Bobby Blue Bland, uh, even Al Green came by on certain nights. Those nights were called the party night because that's what my parents told me. It was the party. And my father made a point of having me there and introducing me to some famous people that I didn't even know of. I was familiar with their music because we were raised in a home where every weekend music was being played. You know, good music. Aretha Franklin, B.B. King, the blues, uh, Motown music. It was like great. So anyway, I had exposure, and in my mind, for real, I thought everybody's great grandmother had a jukebox. Okay, so I learned that was unique. I also learned that very few women, black or even Caucasian women, had a difficult time obtaining a liquor license. I guess they wanted to keep control, but my great grandmother was one of the first black women, if not the first black woman, to attain a liquor license. So she was in legitimate business, and she was recognized by a number of labels. See, I can only like think of a couple right now, like Atlantic, uh, Wattstack, Arista. Um, I really want to think of some of the labels that are more historic, but I can't think of that right now. And I don't want to digress because my history, now that I really think about it, very, very rich, and I'm very grateful to the Creator for giving me this type of foundation. So, skipping, That's when I was small. Now, after experiencing a lot of different things, um, I was recruited, like a lot of people from our neighborhood, and this is from South Central to Inglewood, Crenshaw, and at the time, none of us knew that we were, our areas were picked out where flyers were put up and stapled on the telephone poles and even on some of the trees, right, on certain streets. These flyers were put up by, for lack of a better term, but easier to remember, the Good L.A.P.D. Okay, you don't hear that a lot, if ever. You don't hear about the Good L.A.P.D. And I'm going to explain to you why I call this particular group of LAPD the Good L.A.P.D. It's for a specific reason. Um, I had no idea it would have such an effect on my future. Um, what happened was, in the dichotomy of good and evil, you have selfish people and you have righteous people. You have greedy people and you have grateful people that share because they care. Now, remember this if you don't know it. Greed did not build this country. It was ambition and freedom, and I can explain that. I explain that in my thesis. Greed is never satisfied, and abuse is a part of greed. It's like what you want, and you can care less about how somebody else is affected. And it's this principle why I'm doing this right now. I used to assume everybody had somebody to teach them right from wrong, or to teach the young men how to be gentlemen and the young ladies how to be real ladies. But unfortunately, this is not a perfect world, and a number of younger people didn't have that benefit. Now, in a duality of blame, that's not their fault. Okay, now, since we have freedom of will, there is some fault when we choose to be deviant or to harm others or be abusive to others. And you have absolutely no excuse when you've heard about God and the philosophies of God toward mankind. That's your fault, those choices that you made. But what you got exposed to, what you got brainwashed to, what you got programmed to, that's not your fault. That was the outside entities, many of which did that on purpose. So I've come to grips with the fact that not everybody had even one mentor or positive role model, and you had to look for it. But that doesn't mean that you even knew that one existed, or that the Creator would place at least one positive role model that didn't subscribe to selfishness and greed. So this is part one of my background. In part two, I'm going to talk about the good L.A.P.D. when rap was being discovered by the elite and the corporations at being the next worldwide profitable genre of music. They knew that. They didn't talk about it because they all wanted to monopolize. I want to thank you for sitting through this presentation because I like to talk about fun stuff, all right, exciting stuff, all right. And I know a lot of you like to hear those type of things, but if we are to grow, progress, and evolve into the people that our Creator wants us to be, we're going to have to do some studying and we're going to have to hear some truth. Thank you very much. This is the DJ Slam Show.